The following podcast contains coarse language and adult themes. This week on the show, our somewhat poorly timed, heaping helping of holiday happiness as we chat one of the most heartbreaking and heartwarming Christmas stories ever put to screen, the animated classic, KLAUS. I'm Reegs.
And I'm Baby Black.
Oh, fuck, he's back. And this is the Film Addicts podcast. Hey friends, and welcome back to the Film Addicts podcast. We're so happy to have you here. I'm here with Baby Bloodaxe again, who, as you can't tell because this is a podcast, is currently being animated, I guess you call, fittingly enough, by a dragon over Google Meet. So, hey Baby Bloodaxe, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
It's funny because I've now seen Rebel Moon and I realised that there's nothing like this, even remotely, in the picture. There's dragons? There's not really dragons. Baby Bloodaxe is non-existent. There's no ex-wife. Like, we were completely off the mark. Completely off the mark. Sorry, Zach.
Well, in my
disappointed
in my D&D game, like when I'm DMing, my character is Bloodaxe. He's a dragonborn.
Right.
So yeah, that makes perfect sense in this context.
That's right, because you named your character Bloodaxe, or you named a character Bloodaxe. Is that right?
Yeah, so I named my character Bloodaxe before we knew that Bloodaxe was going to be in Rebel Moon.
Okay. How topical are we? Fucking hell. Amazing. Well, here we are. We're back on talking about KLAUS, which I did watch over the Christmas period because I love it so much. And I guess it's kind of, good that we do the episode now because I didn't want to just do it during Christmas because that's too obvious.
It's either too late or too fucking early.
Yeah. It's extremely early or just a little bit late. So we'll go for just a little bit late. But before all that, it's kind of hard to say this because we're recording episodes back to back today, but how are you? What's going on?
I'm actually doing good at the moment.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Did you have a fun last 2 hours when we recorded our best?
I did. I missed you a lot. I missed you a lot.
There was a gap, and it was lovely having Leanne on for the Midnight Mass episode. But it is, it's nice when we get back, just two bruvs, just talking shit about some pretty great movies, KLAUS being one of them, and a bunch from 2023. We didn't do our normal sort of setup for the episode for the best of, just because we had a lot to talk about already. But we're going to get back to it today. So this is the first segment 2024 of What Are We Watching? Do you want to talk about What Are We Watching?
Let's do What Are We Watching?
What are we
watching?
A little bit more enthusiasm next time, all right?
Watching!
There it is. Wonderful. So what are we watching? What are you watching?
Oh, man. So much.
Tell me about some stuff and things.
So much porn. What?
Whatever. Get some of that Christmas porn. Everyone's fucking dildo on each other with candy canes. Getting minty fresh. What? Oh dear.
I didn't know you could taste from down there.
Well, I can't. I don't know about other people though. So anyway, tell me about stuff.
Fitting start. So, okay, I'll start off with something that's a little personal. So, this is not a film. Well, it kind of was a film, because it came out as like a short film, but the Beatles have ended with their last track being Now and Then.
Okay. I was going to say, that's been a long time, mate, but I see what you're saying now. Yeah,
that was their, Now and Then was officially their last track. And it's got vocals by John Lennon and guitar by Fuck, I might cry. Guitar by George Martin. Nope. Not
George Harrison.
George Harrison. Fuck, George Martin
Yep.
was the producer. Who's the father of Giles Martin, who has done an incredible job of preserving and remastering every single Beatles song. But yeah, it came out on my grandfather's birthday as well, and there were too many emotions flying around, and I loved it. It came out as a short film, and they show like the process of them making it and like how they got the cassette tape, and how through the machine learning process they were able to extract like John's vocals.
Wow. Okay.
And that's not AI, by the way. Machine learning is a completely different thing, and AI is a completely different
Are you
thing.
sure?
Yes.
It sounds pretty fucking, yeah.
Because, like, we've been doing machine learning kind of stuff, like, ever since, like, the good old days of fucking CG invention. Because, like, so much of it, like, now realizing how you can take something and make it better, right? And
is this sort of like in LOTR when they built those, like the armies?
Yeah.
And the armies would learn from each other based on the threats and all that stuff?
Well, did that happen? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so like they would build CG armies, and then they would like program in them to behave based on what the threat was. And it fucked up a few times where the guys were like turning around and running away.
Well, that's this.
I think it's for Return of the King.
This is not that, although it's insane that you bring up Lord of the Rings, because I was going to say Percy Jackson, but Peter Jackson.
Percy Jackson's the little Olympian kid.
Yeah, the little demigod.
Yeah, the little demigod. You're thinking about Peter Jackson.
Yeah, I'm thinking about my god, so I got confused.
Lord of the Rings and The Frighteners as well, and also something more recent. What has he done? I also did those Hobbit pictures.
He did, and I like those.
And a really good film, King Kong.
Yeah, with Jack Black.
I don't think I've ever done a shitty New Zealand accent, so there you go, everyone. Another one. DJ Khaled.
Yeah, he did the Beatles Get Back trilogy, which also had that machine learning technology where they took footage from 69, I think it was. It was shot on like 16mm.
My favorite number.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's some low-hanging fruit there. Shit. Didn't even have to stand up for that one. Machine learning. Keep going.
And then, so they took every single picture of all the Beatles in existence. They fed it to a program that then took that footage and made it as they would look at that time. And there are pictures of them at that time looking exactly how they look in the film. But if you watch the 16mm one, which is very hard to find, they don't look like that, because like it was a lot of shit happened, and by the end of it, people didn't go watch it because there were news clippings of all of them having a fight, and the documentary is a mini series, and it's 3 episodes long. Each episode is the first 2 are like 3 hours, and the last one and the last one is 2 hours and 30 minutes, and like that one's last hour is the entirety of the rooftop concert.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, so, and Peter Jackson, while they were doing that, they also applied that with the Let It Be album, or the Get Back album, and they did that, and then they remastered it, and so yeah, with that happening almost 50 years after like they stopped making music together, and 2 of them died, they were able to make this song. And this song was originally supposed to be on the Anthology album when George Harrison was still alive. George Harrison.
Yeah, wow.
I keep fucking up that name. Like,
it's Harrison. Yeah, that's all right. People know who you mean.
Yeah. But yeah, they just weren't able to understand what John was saying at that time, and because of the technology that Peter Jackson invented for the documentary, they were able to make that song, and it's insane that song exists and it came out in my lifetime. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's you're blessed then.
I am. But yeah, so I watched the documentary in the lead up to the release of the song. And I also caught up on all fucking 65 episodes of the third campaign of Critical Role that I hadn't seen. I had only seen the highlights, and each episode was like 4 hours long. So yeah.
Wow. How did you do that and watch Dungeons and Dragons 58 times or whatever?
Well, the thing with the Critical Role, like the campaign thing, is that they upload it as podcasts as well. So I watch how much ever I can, and then like going to UN and all that, I just put it on as a podcast.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, that, and I'm currently watching the Monarch series with Wyatt and Kurt Russell.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've only I know there's more out than that, but I've only watched 2 episodes, and then Christmas came around, so I started watching Christmas stuff. But I'm digging it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's also the first ever time that this universe, like this Godzilla universe, has done human characters, right? So
I understand that. Yeah, that everybody, no one's very broadly drawn in the other things, but because they've got so much airtime to fill, you can't populate it with just monsters the whole time, because not only would you get battle fatigue, but you'd also it'd cost too much.
It would.
But here you can actually have real people with real problems and real shit going on. And the fact that Wyatt plays he's also like 1.5 older than taller than his dad, which is pretty funny. But yeah, the fact that Wyatt is playing the Russell in flashback.
Amazing.
That's some premium casting, Apple. Well done again.
Yeah. And there are 2 stories going on at the same time, in the past and in the future. Or in the present day in the story. And like,
it's not actually present day. It's set,
present day for it's not present day.
Yeah, it's like 2015, 2014. It's like supposed to be just after the first Godzilla incident, the one that had Bryan Cranston and the Quicksilver kid and WandaVision.
Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen. Yeah. It's supposed to be just after that's happened. So, I'm digging. I have to catch back up now that you've said it, but I'm also fucking right in the middle of Daredevil season 2, and it's just getting fucking. I can't watch that show.
Can't watch Daredevil.
I haven't seen it yet. I have to watch it.
Oh fuck, man! Frank Castle he shoots a dude in the face, and I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. This is hardcore. And then I was watching the Hawkeye, as I always do at Christmas time, and Kingpin turns up. I'm like, man, you were in a different show at one point. It wasn't even this close to this glossy. You killed a guy by slamming his head into a door, like the car door, until it came off, until the guy's head came off, and now you're wearing Hawaiian shirts. Anyway, so yeah, thank you for the reminder. I'll get back to Monarch. Legend of fucking whatever the fuck. What is it?
It's Monarch Legacy of Monsters.
Yeah, that's right. It's a monster legacy.
I watched.
Would you go so far as to say, though? Would you call this a monster mash?
I would.
There you go. He did the mash. He did the monster mash. The monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. No, there's no graveyards in. I mean, a lot of people die, but anyway,
that was a pivot.
What? There's bloody goddamn Goliaths and shit attacking buildings and stuff. Of course people are dying. It's like when you watch the last 40 minutes of Man of Steel, you're like, yeah, fucking everybody's dead. That's a big sight. Like, fuck, I can't believe I'm still on a podcast with this dickhead.
No, it's not that. It's you reminded me of Henry Cavill. So,
oh, I'm sorry.
Well, you remind me of Henry Cavill as Henry Cavill's always in my head, rent free. It all belongs to him.
True. I mean, I do have his Night Hunter length beard going on at the moment, but I don't have the abs, unfortunately. Did you have anything else that you watched?
I watched Castlevania Nocturne. Also, I want to apologize because I was bringing up Castlevania too much in the Midnight Mass episode. I didn't want to cut anyone off. I was just excited. I'm sorry.
No, neither of us give a shit. Leanne, do you give a shit? No, she doesn't. I can feel her vibes coming onto me now and being like, no, he doesn't mind.
But yeah, Castlevania Nocturne is the sequel to Castlevania. Takes place 300.
I figured as much, yeah.
Takes place 300 years after the last season.
Shit.
And oh my god, dude, it's already greenlit for a second season, which is good.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, is it a surprise Netflix animation never misses?
I mean, they got to be good at something.
I mean, yeah, for sure. But oh my god,
because their interface is for shit. But
I mean, dude, the everything from the voice cast to like the drawings, like it's insane on the next level. Like the first episode of Castlevania, and it gets better from there to like the end of the show, right? Dude, this is like a next level. Like it's so much of a next level. It's almost another genre, and it's so much more scarier. Like this world is so much more scarier than that one.
Yeah,
and it's like it takes place in the French Revolution times, and it's like the first one. Like Castlevania had a theme of man versus belief and religion. And this one has that, but it's for like one of its main characters is a slave who ran away, and like I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it's in the trailers, and it happens in the first episode, so I'm gonna say it. Like the character was a slave, then ran away, became a liberator of other slaves, and then they had this whole like a club and this army, and they used to like go and save the other slaves. And like when the story takes place, he gets caught, becomes a monster, and when he comes back as a monster, like they're binded by their masters, so they have to obey to them. And he's not doing that, and it's the theme of he was freed and he had his freedom, and so like he's like the first monster that doesn't obey to like the masters, and he starts liberating the other monsters as well. They're like, fuck you, I'm not obeying your shitty fucking orders, and it's just it's so good. It's animation.
It looks awesome. I really enjoyed the first season. Sorry if I'm a little bit further away from the mic. Hang on, listen to this. I'm not sure if on the record you can hear my cat currently, who's sitting on my lap purring, but that's what happened then. he's come to sit down. Hey Paul, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, I really enjoyed the first season, and then I got distracted again by something like 4 other things probably. But I'm so glad you enjoyed the sequel, because I know how much you love the OG. Yeah,
and like this is, I'm not sure how much of involvement Warren Ellis has on this, because like he was immensely involved in the first one.
Yeah,
and this one is I think the head writer of the last show is the director of this show, but each episode he's paired with another director.
Yeah, right.
And it's so good. It's really good. And it's got hot people and like cool monsters. and it's got vampires as well. And like, dude, the main vampire this season that's like on the good guys team is played by the guy who was Echo's dad, but he was also in Dr. Sleep.
Oh yeah. I can't remember the actor's name, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
He plays a Native American gay vampire.
Fantastic.
It's
There's a sentence
insane. You don't hear often. It's insane.
You don't often hear those words in the same sentence.
Yes, that was
outstanding.
That was my bullshit.
I loved it.
There you go.
Well, what's Reegs watching? I'm gonna tell you this much. I watched Rebel Moon, but we can't really talk about it because you haven't seen it. So,
well, give me a spoiler-free opinion review.
it's doing a lot of stuff. It's doing a lot of things. And I feel like the best review I sort of saw of it was, you shouldn't have to wait for the director's cut to enjoy a movie. And I feel like that's true. And I feel like there's some poor casting going on. But I wasn't bored. You know, it's just big sci-fi pulling from all different places. A lot of sexual threat, which is weird. But yeah, like a lot of different. I sort of saw it as like Firefly and Star Wars and Dune 1984 kind of all mixed in together. And there's some great stuff in there. I mean, Zach's a great visualist. Maybe I hyped it up in my head. Second watching, or maybe when I see the second part, it'll kind of fill in the blanks a bit. The other thing was... Sorry, go ahead.
What's fucked up is that we don't get the director's cut till like June or April of next year.
Yeah, of course. They're going to tease it out as much as they can.
It's like 4 hours long. Like, if that's the director's cut, why not just release that or make it a show?
Just make it a series. Yeah, it feels like it should be a series. It feels like, you know, Firefly in that way. Or that's how I perceive it anyway. But yeah, I mean, check it out and make up your own mind, and we can chat about it when you do. I went and saw Batman Returns at the Astor every year, almost on the same day, which is fantastic. And fuck, I love it. Like I said last week, it's my favorite Christmas movie. It's my favorite Batman movie. It's my favorite superhero movie. It's just perfect. It's so fucking unhinged and original. And like I said it when I did my review of when I was still doing the Stitch Up as a video review. I did an episode on Batman Returns, and I still believe what I said then stands now. If you give the script of that film to any other director, the result is vastly different. Like, it is a Tim Burton film. No ifs, ands, or buts. You know, they said, hey, Tim, because Batman 89 was so successful, and so was Edward Scissorhands, which he made in between them, just do whatever you want. And he fucking did. And Michelle Pfeiffer, fucking forget about it. Like, it's just perfect. I love it so much. Reacher season 2 has started. Yeah, just want to see a bunch of motherfuckers get punched in the neck. It's the best. And I quite like the big fella. What's his name?
Alan Richardson.
He's interesting on podcast. He's very, very open and honest about his experiences in Hollywood. There's a fucking horrible story about when he was working on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles films as Raphael. He's also really open about his bipolar disorder and his mental illness and how he deals with it, how his family deals with it. And he's also very open about the fact that after, you know, the Reacher season 1, in order to keep up with the schedule, which was crazy, he started taking testosterone, which makes it easier for him to do his job. I mean, he's my age, he's 40. And fuck me, this guy is... It's like he's made out of marble. Like, he is just... It's ridiculous the size that he is in this show. I mean, I know he's a really tall dude anyway, but fuck. But at least he's open and honest about it, unlike some other people who get into that kind of shape for movies and then, you know, turn back into their normal form. You're like, how the fuck did that happen so quickly? Well, it's probably because they were on certain things. Yeah, or whomever, and make your own life choices, but don't think that we don't know. Testosterone also isn't like a class A drug or anything. It's not illegal in the same way that some steroids are and stuff. But, you know, at least he's open about it. But I dig Reacher. I think it's a good show. You know, it's a real dad afternoon, as the We Hate Movies guys put it. And lastly, I rewatched Hawkeye for Christmas. I fucking love it. It's my favorite thing that, like, in the containment of the NCU, because Daredevil lives outside of that they've done. It's the most interesting and I find it really, really heartfelt and true, and it's quite small. Like, it's not a huge big sort of thing about the end of the world, whatever. It's just this little small story that's going on, and Hawkeye dealing with his family, and we mentioned it when we did our episode on the TVs, like the MCU TV series, and we ranked our best, and I talked about this at length. It's really misunderstood. I think Hawkeye is really misunderstood as a character because people have like ideas about Jeremy Renner that are probably a little bit off base. I think he's an incredibly talented actor. I think it's a very measured performance as Hawkeye because he's just a dude. You know, also, you know, I was having a conversation with someone about it the other day, and they're like, "You just got a bow and arrow." I'm like, "Yeah, that's the point. that's what he has,
Yeah.
and yet he is still standing there, in a team with super assassins and men in technologically advanced suits and super soldiers and Hulks and gods, and yet he stands there and holds his own. And that story is about the cost of that. The fact that he is partially deaf because of all of his adventures, his body's breaking down. The scene where he has to redo Kate's, like they're kind of had the shit kicked out of them by the tracksuit mafia, and they go to the shop and get some stuff, and he's like, band-aids and iodine and all the stuff that you put on when you've got cuts and bruises, and he's such a pro at it because he's had to do this fucking forever. And the person I was talking about, he goes, yeah, but he's supposed to be a superhero. I'm like, no, he's not. He's supposed to be a soldier. He's not even a spy. Like, Scarlet Witch, Black Widow is the spy. Like, he was in the military and he became special forces, and then he was sent to assassinate Natasha. He's just a military guy. It's the job. It's like he says, I've got to go back out there. He says to Scarlet Witch, I'm going to go out there and shoot these guys with my bow and arrow because that's my job. And the toll that takes. It's about the way that we treat, not we, but the way that the American social systems and all that stuff treat veterans, especially veterans who have been wounded in action. It's a very, very interesting show. I think it's great. I think she is incredible as Kate Bishop.
Haley Steinfeld.
She's one of the most talented actresses working today. And then when Florence Pugh comes into it as well, them together, and the threat of Yelena, is so real, and the threat of Kingpin is so real, and it's just so beautifully directed by Bert and Bertie, and I fucking adore it. I watch it every year, and if you don't dig it, that's cool, but I think it's head and shoulders above anything else in terms of its emotional resonance and impact. Every single time he has that conversation with his son on the phone, and he can't hear him, and Kate's having to write out what the kid's saying. Every single time that happens, I cry. And every single time after the fight on the rooftop with Yelena, he turns to Kate and says, someone has hired a Black Widow assassin. This has gotten very, very real very, very quickly. I feel the threat. And that's down to Renner and Steinfeld's chemistry that they have. I love it. Love it every year. And if you want to hear how much we love it, go back to years and years ago when me and Addie tandem hooked up. We did kind of hook up a little bit to talk about. We wrote some reviews on each episode. That was the sort of beginning of our friendship, which is beautiful. But anyway, enough of all that. Enough of what are we watching. Do you do? Oh no. Oh dear. It's going to be an earlier cracking because we've recorded 2 today, so I'm going to start going crazy earlier than normal. Do you want to do the nerd news?
Let's do the nerd news.
Okay, here we are with the Film Addicts podcast nerd news segment. First nerd news for 2024. And so these might be a little bit late to you public, but we're talking about it as it kind of is more current. Jonathan Majors has been found guilty of harassment and assault, so much so that Marvel Studios has dropped him from future plans of having him play Kang. Which also means that Avengers 5 will no longer be called the Kang Dynasty after his firing. It's being called something else. They're going to actually be splitting them. Whereas it was supposed to be Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. They're now splitting Secret Wars in 2, so it's going to be 3 films. Is that the understanding?
I always thought Secret Wars was first and Kang Dynasty was second, but I don't know.
I think Kang was supposed to be first, but it's something else now.
So here's my pitch. Kang Dynasty goes away, becomes Avengers 5, the New Age, and it's our Young Avengers, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of where they're headed anyway. Just to talk about the Jonathan Majors of it really quickly, it's legally that's what's happened. It's a shame because he is a talented actor, but it's also a shame that he had shied violence towards multiple women. So it's probably a good thing that he's gone. Why don't they just fucking recast? We talked about it before.
It's the most okay. So it is the most easiest role to recast as, and like the Kang threat kind of goes away in Quantum Mania itself. Actually, like it's a very self-contained thing. The thing with Kang was I don't think they got the story right to like even make him interesting enough. Like
Mm.
the
He didn't have the threat level of a Thanos that you kind of felt on high as the
true.
movies were progressing. You felt that happen. Kang, I felt nothing about.
Yeah, like I think most of it was that he was so upfront, and we got to see a version of him right in Loki season 1, and
Yeah.
I feel like most of us going in for Quantum Mania kind of expected a hero remains kind of thing, and it's
Mm.
just like the variance of it all just varying so much, and most of them being evil and this one kind of being good, and then like in season 2 you find things out, and it's like it's fun to have that kind of character. I just don't think that character has the weight of demanding an Avengers film.
Yep. Yeah.
Although, is it weird that Ant-Man was the one to fight him? Yes. Does it work? Kind of.
I mean, for the idea of him being stuck in the quantum realm is interesting, and it also explains why we haven't seen him before. That part of that movie was kind of successful, but I just feel like I mean, remember Next Time, Baby, and Terrence Howard. There was no Next Time, Baby. There was Next Time, Don Cheadle. Like,
Oh,
and no one
shit.
fucking said boo about it. You know what I mean? Like, there's 100 African American actors that you could cast in that role and just change it up, and you don't even need to explain it. It's not like in The Matrix where the woman who was playing the Oracle died and they brought in another old black lady. You don't even need to do and then she explains, she's like, oh, sorry, something happened, I paid a price and this was the price to now be whatever in this new body. You don't even need to do that. Just have a different actor come in and play him. John Boyega was one that was put out there. I thought that was a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, but he didn't want to do it. Which, fair enough. Disney fucked him over a lot. So
yeah, that's true. John David Washington might be good. He's kind of vacant in places, but I mean, it's a shame again because Jonathan Majors is great, but but they're also thinking, Marvel's the Secret Wars will be cut into 2 movies with its current story plotted to be over 5 hours. They're talking about Doom coming into that as well, which would probably set up stuff for the
what do you think about that?
Fantastic Four. I think they should leave it alone until they get to Fantastic Four. They're also talking about bringing the Beyonder in, who is the antagonist in Secret Wars, the books, and that will explain either the Kang change of cast, or that if it's fucking he's not existent at all, but you don't really need to do that. And they're talking about doing the Young Avengers project as a movie as opposed to a Disney Plus series, which is probably a good move too. That's gonna have to have something to do with it as well. Like, there's so many threads, I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, dude, I reckon that's like the Nightwing issue, or like the Dark Crisis one, where all the bigger names are just disappeared, and it's just these people, and they have to band together and then save people. Like, that's the way that's the way you should do it, and it'll work because it always works.
Yeah, I completely agree. And having said that as well, all of this is leading to what will be the MCU X-Men project, whatever that form that takes, with Mr. Sinister being the top villain that they're going to be using. And this will all lead to an Avengers style takeover of the universe. The Avengers will have little presence in the next MCU saga after the multiverse saga, as the mutants going to be set to be the primary focus. However, that will explore the possibility of an Avengers versus X-Men style movie somewhere down the line.
In 15 years, if we're still here.
The world, or me and you?
I mean, me and you for sure, the world for sure, but also if you're still interested in that, and the mutant saga works. Because I know for a fact that you're going to watch that film even though you're not caught up with all the MCU shit. Because it's mutants.
I'm going to have to at some point though, aren't I? Because I'm going to get confused. Aren't I going to have to watch all of them to catch up?
And I don't believe so.
Because I haven't watched anything since Ant-Man. the last Ant-Man movie. I've missed Marvels. I've missed whatever TV has come out.
You watched the Guardians film, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. See, so much so I forgot about it. Moon Knight. Yeah, it's all a little bit much, and thinking about what was the story that you sent me the other day? It wasn't the other day. Hang on.
Was it the DC thing?
What's the DC thing? What did I miss?
With the Professor Pig thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so this oversaturation of stuff in the one movie. So Daniel IPK says that Professor Pig, Scarecrow, Clayface, Hush, and Dick Grayson will all be a part of the Batman Part 2. James Gunn has since come out and debunked that. I don't know what fucking skin he has in the game. He's got nothing to do with that universe, but it just feels like they want to throw all their toys in on the floor instead of, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, I want to play with this one, and then we'll see what happens, and then maybe bring another one in and all that. It's like they've kind of fallen in love with their own myth of everything all at once. Just, you need to stop, take a breath, and figure out what the X-Men are supposed to be, because they're really important.
Ain't that the fucking truth? In next year, Deadpool 3 is the only MCU film coming out, although they do have shows and projects.
Yeah,
but it's
well, that's supposed
minimal.
to do some sort of setting up, and there's rumors of that sort of having something to do with the next Spider-Man film and the Daredevil series, and that will lead into a street level kind of Avengers style event where
Midnight Suns?
Midnight Suns, but also that Daredevil, Matt Murdock's character will snap the way that he did in the comics, and you will get a Devil's Reign storyline, which is where he cordoned off Hell's Kitchen and became a warlord, which is incredibly interesting. So maybe there's that going on as well. Just there's some good ideas going there, but it's kind of all, there's a bunch of fairy floss around at the same time.
At the moment, most of it seems half-baked, although I'm sure that they do have a plan in mind. Right? It's just that we can't see it.
We can't see it, yeah. I mean, I didn't know when they Avengers Infinity War and Endgame was I can't imagine what either of those movies are going to be.
And that's the fun of it, right? I feel like people forget that these movies are supposed to be fun and not all dramatic.
Yeah, but also people forget that they're... I think the people who are running them forget that it's more than a business.
True.
It needs to be more than a business, because if it isn't, then what are we doing? It's a fucking... should be art for art's sake. Otherwise, it's a fucking futile endeavor. You're just going to get stuff that ends up looking like, when you go to the supermarket and you're going through the checkout and there's that thing there, the impulse buy section where it's just candy and fucking gum and all this shit that you don't need. It's going to turn into that. What we need is fruit and veg, everybody, and that's, the beginnings of all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, he's hoping the mutants are done right.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out. But anyway, you know what you know about mutants? You know what they don't do? Is they don't celebrate Christmas. That's not true. They probably celebrate Christmas a lot, but that's me trying to somehow squeeze into the conversation. We're talking about KLAUS, which is just peak for me. I love it so much, and there's a bunch of reasons why, and we'll get into them all. But yeah, so KLAUS from 2019, put out on the Disney Plus, starring Jason Schwartzman as
it's a Netflix
Jasper.
film.
What did I say?
Disney Plus.
Did I say Disney Plus?
You just
well,
said...
I'll go fucking... Yeah, no, we didn't do that one. It's actually shit. No, it's not your shit, all right? Just Disney Plus, you can get fucked. Yeah, all right, I will then. Get good. Anyway... Jason Schwartzman plays Jasper. J.K. Simmons plays the titular KLAUS. Rashida Jones is Alva. Fantastic performance there. You've got, bunch of other ones. Joan Cusack, fantastically. R.I.P. Norm Macdonald. And directed by, I just want to fuck up their names, Sergio Pablos and Carlos Martinez Lopez, the directors of this picture. And it was written by them also, with screenplay help from Jim Mahoney and Zach Lewis. As is usually the way that I go about it, well, just quickly, if you haven't seen it, It's about in the old timey times. There's a town called Smearsburg that's a very sort of destitute and fraught with danger kind of fishing town where none of the denizens get along. It's like two sides kind of thing. It's like the Sneetches, and a new postman named Jasper goes there and befriends a toy maker named Klaus to send children, if they send in a letter to him, they will get a toy. And that slowly but surely turns into Christmas, and the character of Klaus slowly but surely turns into what we understand as Santa. Addie?
Yeah?
Tell me about your history with this picture and your feelings about it.
Well, I watched it in 2019. It was fun. Then I watched it in 2020, and I got the gist. It got me, and I cried.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's, I don't know. This, sure, there's a lot of debates in there, all that, but this is my favorite Christmas movie of all time.
Wow. I bet Netflix is happy to hear that. Remember that time I tried to do a Netflix voice and it came out and I said it was like someone with a pogo stick or whatever up their bum, and then you said it was Charles Xavier with the dildo chair? Yeah, let's not get into that ground again.
I'd forgotten about that.
That's one of the best. So, your favourite Christmas movie, that's a pretty high fucking bar.
Is it though?
Because there's some good Christmas. Yeah, man, there's some good Christmas movies.
Well, Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie, so.
Oh, you're fucking one of them. Oh,
it's
great.
not. It's an action film that takes place during Christmas. It's not a Christmas film.
What? Okay, we're gonna have to have the argument now, everybody. You're about to hear a lover's tiff. What about it? Like, what constitutes a Christmas movie then?
A Christmas tree.
There's half a dozen Christmas trees in that movie.
There's not a single one.
There is. There's a huge one when they come in the door. There's a bunch in the offices. I watched it 3 times over December. There's heaps. The argument I always hear is that there's nothing supernatural about it. There's no Santa. There's no elves. Like all that kind of stuff. But I mean, that could be said of fucking Batman Returns and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
What's so supernatural about fucking La La Land?
Is La La Land a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
But it doesn't take place at Christmas. There's a Christmas segment in it.
True.
It takes place over a longer period of time.
If you go by my rule, there has to be a Christmas tree, right? In that sense.
Well, if that's true, then this movie doesn't have a Christmas tree.
They do. They do, because it's Christmas when they deliver the
yeah, that's
presents.
right. Yeah, it is Christmas already. They understand what Christmas is, but not in the way that we do with the Santas.
Yeah, and The Nice Guys is a Christmas film too.
Yeah, well, I mean,
because
technically
it
takes place
at the end when they're at the bar. There's a Christmas tree.
Yeah, so your argument falls apart as far as Die Hard's concerned. You contrarian fuck.
Wow.
2024 is getting heavy on the Film Addicts podcast.
Right. So okay, the fuck. The Die Hard argument was a joke, obviously.
Good, because we're about to break up. I couldn't give a fuck, actually. I don't agree with the argument that it's not one, but I don't have any. I'm not going to die on that hill.
What classifies a Christmas movie is how it makes you feel, right? That's all.
Yeah. That's a perfect way to put it. So
yeah.
To continue that thread, KLAUS, it's your favorite Christmas movie of all time. What? And you said the first time you watched it, you were kind of like, "Oh, that was fun," and then the second time you watched it, it hit all those emotional beats for you.
It did. Well, it's 2019. I was a kid. I'm still a kid, but I was a younger kid.
Yeah, you were 11.
I wasn't 11.
No. Were you 16?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I should tell people your age. Where do you live as well, Addie? What's your phone number?
We've said that before. I'm
sure we have, yeah. I feel like it's kind of, it's one of those Christmas movies I like in the sense that it's not playing on really, apart from the Santa Claus story, which has been retold dozens of times. Like, there's different versions of it all throughout history and all throughout movies, and there's always variations of it, and how he is magical, and is he magical or is he not, and all that. And I like all the variations. And I was watching it with my fiancée Emily, and she was like, I like the origin story version, like this version's really interesting, because it is born in tragedy.
Yeah.
The character of KLAUS is a widower, and he desperately was in love, with his wife, and they had a beautiful life together, and they desperately wanted children, and it didn't happen. And they don't explain it. They don't go, oh, she had this, whatever it was, and thing. It's just like, it never happened for us. And then she got sick, and he continued to make these toys until she got sick. So he has this huge stockpile of toys that he's made. He's a woodworker. And after she passed away, he stopped making them, and he started making bird houses, because she loved the birds, and he thinks that sometimes he sees her and hears her voice on the wind. And then sort of the roundabout way that it happens is that he kind of meets the character of Jasper meets KLAUS, and he's been sent to this place to make the post office a successful business, like a going concern. And in order to do that, he has to get letters to come in and out, and it costs a penny. And when he lands on this idea of kids writing in to get a present, it kind of takes off. And KLAUS is quite monosyllabic for most of it, until their friendship kind of, becomes what it ultimately becomes, which is a friendship for a lifetime and beyond. Like that to me is the thing that I like a silly Christmas movie as well, like
Home Alone.
What? Sorry.
Home Alone. Silly Christmas.
I don't really like Home Alone.
Same.
I find
I just said it.
McCulkin incredibly little fucking obnoxious preteens. No, thank you. But something like Die Hard's a good example. Something that kind of there is some pretty powerful emotional beats in that. But like The Grinch, with Jim Carrey, is just fucking big fun and silly. But I do love an emotional core. Is that what it is for you? Like, is that why you dig it so much?
Yeah, it's my favorite iteration of what or version of Santa story. And it's nothing. It's just at the end of it, he says, all I know is every year I get to see my friend.
Oh fuck! We'll get to that. That's
sorry.
a longer conversation.
I jumped so hard.
Yeah, you did, but it's no, it's fine, because that really is the whole thing. And it's looking at Jasper's character. He's played so well by Jason Schwartzman, because he's so slimy but still really lovable. Especially in his relationship with the school teacher, who's currently a fishmonger, Alva, and. She's got this school that doesn't run because the warring factions here of, the two different families. So you've got the Crumbs and the Eagleborns, or Eaglebows. And it's two sides of this kind of society. And they've been at war. It's like the fucking, what's that the famous Western group, like the McCoys and the Hatchets, or whatever the fuck it was called. And so they just hate each other because they've hated each other forever, and they don't know any different. And then as each of these kids, once the post office comes up and Jasper starts getting these things in, and the mythos around Santa starts coming out. Like, if you write him a letter, he'll send you a toy. If you're a good girl, he's got a good list. He's got a bad list. If you don't, you get a piece of coal. Like, all this stuff starts to happen. And as the kids start playing with these toys, they start interacting with each other, much to the chagrin of the parents, because it's like, you can't be friends with him, you can't be friends with her. Told so beautifully in the two kind of mute son and daughter of either side of this conflict, who end up falling in love, which is just mine. It's just so beautiful, because he saves her, and then the next shot is her like holding him like a baby. Mine. And it's
I might fucking cry. It's that fucking cute.
It is. It's so sweet, and without being, overly sentimental or overly saccharine. It's just these are relationships that are born out of misunderstanding, for everybody, and all you need is a little bit of kindness in the middle there, and it'll take hold of everybody. When they go, it's the it's the kid's writing the letter to Santa, and she says, instead of throwing the berries at Mrs. whatever her name's house, we picked them for her. And then she made jam for my mum, and the woman comes over and goes, and sort of dumps the jam and then fucks off. And my mum made her a pie. It's like kindness as a revenge. It was just, it's so silly. And I feel like some of the needle drops are really peculiar. Like it's hip hop music, which is really, really weird. But then, this beautiful, like traditional kind of quirky score comes in, which I really adore. And the thing that kind of gets me most about this, because there's so many movies at this time of year are animated or CG animated or whatever. The classical European animated style of this, it's really slick, but it is classical. It's hand drawn. It's cell by cell, and the backgrounds are so beautifully rendered, and it looks older than it is.
It looks like a century-old storybook that can still give you a feel.
Yeah. No, you're right. It does. Storybook's a perfect way to put it. Yeah, it's got that kind of off coloring where it's a little bit more, especially when he first arrives in the town.
Oh, yeah.
In Smearsburg or Smearensburg, whatever the hell it is. I think it's supposed to be somewhere in Europe. Whatever. They've all got American accents, but
Europe.
Yeah, it's supposed to be cold areas,
Yeah.
Switzerland and Norway and that kind of thing. Because I think the idea of Santa was Norse, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But
that's why in The Violent Night he's a Viking.
He's a Viking, yeah. To rewatch that too. Fucking, there's a bit in that movie where did I send you the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, where I filmed the TV where I've never seen someone so convincingly eat a really good cookie before than David Arbor. And he was like, oh, good cook, homemade. Like he's fantastic. I love that film.
Well, he's sitting on the massage chair just passed out on milk.
Is high as shit, and he gets the brandy.
Yeah,
we're not talking about Violet Night. We'll do that next year. But while we're on the Santa of it, and the animation style is like Santa's huge. Like he's an enormous hulking figure with massive hands, but he's so gentle and delicate. And he's just heartbroken, and he finds that joy with these kids, and it's. Like Jason Schwartzman and J.K. Simmons have great chemistry because their vocal ranges are so fucking different.
It is. It's insane. Also, J.K. Simmons is a veteran voice actor. I don't know if you know this.
No.
He's done shows and movies.
Yeah.
He's in The Legend of Korra as Tenzin, who is the kid of the first Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is a prequel. Well, The Legend of Korra is a sequel to Avatar: The Last Airbender, and in that, Avatar: The Last Airbender is about this last Airbender, and in the sequel, you found out that he had a family, and he made more Airbenders, and then Tenzin, who's this kid who's played amazingly by J.K. Simmons, throughout all 4 seasons, has this weight on him that his dad was this huge hulking figure, and his weight is that he has to reestablish and repopulate the Air Nation because it was a genocide and people were eradicated. And
wow,
yeah, it gets really dark. But then Earth, there's a balance kind of thing, and they the air nomads naturally start coming up. People randomly get bending, and most of them are air bendings because those were the people that were killed. And there's this beautiful scene where he's talking to the current Avatar, and he's just saying that my dad would be so proud of you, who has made his lifelong dream that he couldn't see come true. To him, his son was the only other airbender he could have ever made, but his son is this legacy of this Avatar who was able to repopulate and also bring back this culture and this people who were killed and lost. And it he can be funny, he can be insanely angry, and he can hit you in the feels when he wants to, man. He that's the kind of guy I don't mind him getting roles in animated movies. That's why I have a problem with Chris Pratt getting all the fucking voice acting roles, because there are people who do it way fucking better and have been doing it for years.
Yeah, who were kind of schooled in the particulars of voice acting. Yeah,
but yeah, and
Jason Schwartzman was good though. He was just the spot.
Yeah,
which is one of the best vocal performances I've ever. The only person who is better than him in that film is whoever the young actor is who plays
Miles Morales.
Yeah. Yeah, no, JK is amazing. I've been a huge fan of his for a really long time. He was in a great film with Ben Affleck a few years ago called The Accountant, which I really loved. Really, still measured performance there. It's pretty good, Jim Gordon. But whatever.
The only
fuck ever.
The only good Jim Gordon. Have him voice all Jim Gordon parts, please.
Well, he wasn't the only good Jim Gordon. I would say that both the animated Jim Gordon voice actor and also Gary Oldman are pretty great.
Oh my god! I have to tell you this? You can probably cut this part out, but I watched this.
I never do. You always say that, and then I just leave.
Yeah, I hear it. I'm like, motherfucker, didn't cut it out.
Whatever.
I watched this movie called The Super Sons, which is about Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent.
Yeah.
And
I saw it on your letterbox.
Yeah, it's amazing. I know the guy who was Superman. He's played Thor for 10 years in cartoon form, and his real life wife Laura Bailey voices Lois Lane with him.
That's cool.
And his like Travis Willingham is the guy who did the voice. His favorite superhero of all time is Superman, and he became a father not too long ago, and he had that struggle of how do I keep working and also save time for my son. And he not only does he get to play Superman, he gets to play the best version of Superman who has a kid. It was amazing.
Yeah, all right. I've been sort of dancing around that one for a long time, and I think I might have to dip in.
I brought it up because in that film there's a little reference where there's a huge penny, and like Jonathan asks, "What's the penny for?" And Damien just looks at him, and it's for Alfred, because Alfred isn't, like, he's not there anymore in that universe.
Sure.
And it's just in this like fucking Batcave, there's this huge penny, and it was just really fucking like, it's like, I get that. Also, probably 50% of the people watching that won't.
Well, I feel like if they're fans of the Batman mythos, like the Batman lore, in the comics for years, in the Batcave, there was a giant penny and a stuffed T-Rex.
They have a stuffed T-Rex,
and then all the different cases with all the different costumes in it. Like that's canon. I didn't know it had anything to do with. I think in the comics it was from an adventure that he had fighting Two-Face, but I can't remember exactly where that came from. But it's canonical, absolutely. We're talking about KLAUS, yeah. And I think just to talk about it like a bit more broadly, in terms of its themes and things like that, this young sort of lazy guy who was a postman because it's easy or whatever gets sent to this town because he's a fucking not doing his job properly. He's like, yeah, go and see what life's really like, see how hard life really can be. And at first he tries to take advantage of this, these people and does get kind of in trouble for that a little bit later down the line. But I think at the point where the young, well, I don't really know what you would call her. They're the
girl who doesn't speak English.
Yeah, I think Sammy's. Anyway.
You talk, I'll look it up.
Yeah, sure. So just looking here as well, the studio used CG lighting technologies with hand-drawn animation to create the unique animation style. That's pretty cool. But that's probably fairly, normal. Oh, the film was shopped around to various studios who perceived it as too risky until Netflix picked it up.
I believe it also went to Disney, but they officially declared, like, they don't talk about that.
Yeah, of course not, because they fucked up. It was originally planned for the Sami, so SAMI, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
People to speak English, but it was later changed and they spoke their native language in the movie. They kind of are a precursor or a progenitor of elves. And so are the reindeer. Like, the reason that these are the cool things that kind of happen out of like
so cool,
just
like,
necessity.
Yeah, when they like show
so the kids
how it all
think
came up.
Yeah, so where all these ideas kind of came from is like, okay, so he gets the letters and you write a letter to Santa and there was a little kid who was a shit heap, so he put coal in his, sock instead of, that just happened to be a sock that was hanging on the mantelpiece. That wasn't, specifically for Christmas. And the guy was like, "Hey, I got coal. What's that about? Why'd Santa give me that? Or why did KLAUS give me that?" And he's like, "Well, he's got a naughty and a nice list, and you better not be on the naughty list. You got to do good things." So all of a sudden, all these kids start, at first because they want presents, and then because it's the right thing to do, start doing good deeds for everybody, and like shoveling people's driveways or whatever. But as more and more kids get involved in this gambit, there becomes more and more toys that need to be built, or more and more toys that need to be given out, and the sleigh gets too heavy. And so they have one reindeer, then they have another reindeer, then they get all the reindeer. And the peak of all of this is the fantastic shot where, towards the end of the picture, where Jasper and KLAUS are being chased by the sort of heads of the two warring families. And they go off the sort of edge of this cliff and go up into the air. And a little boy wakes up and looks out the window and sees these flying fucking reindeer, which is actually mid-jump. And that's kind of where that comes from. And in any other movie, like, like in Star Wars, the Han Solo movie, which is called Solo. And it's like when he's registering to go on a spaceship or some fucking shit. I can't remember what it was. And he's like, "Oh, what's your name?" And he's like, "Blah, blah, blah," or "I don't have a last name." Or I can't remember what the idea of it was, but he's like, "Oh, I'll call you Solo." Like, I didn't need to know where his name came from. I don't need to know where Indiana Jones's leather jacket comes from. But specifically this, because it tells that origin story, is really interesting to find out. And how it became Christmas as well. It wasn't just about... It was an all the time thing, and then it became specifically about that period of time because that's when he comes back,
Yeah.
It's hard. We'll get into it shortly about the end of this film, which is absolutely devastating and beautiful at the same time. It's in equal share. I think probably that the part that I'll just say as well, before I get to this particular bit, Rashida Jones is just...
She's amazing.
The fucking queen. She's so great. And it's such a important role because without it, you don't give a shit about Jasper as much because he doesn't soften at all if it's not for her. It's not the kids who do it. It's really his relationship with her and his relationship with KLAUS. And she's so great, chopping up that fish and like getting shitty at the kids. Like, if I teach you how to fucking write your name, will you leave me alone? And when she does, and the kid writes a name and she's like, "Wow, that's it? That's my name?" She goes, "Yeah, great, whatever." And then the kid's like, "I want to learn how to write my name." And then all of a sudden she realizes that how magical that must be and how much she's taking it for granted that she understands language and can write. It's such an important way that we communicate. It's how we communicated before we had speech is through pictorial form and through symbols and things like that. And that look on her face, and then it cuts to inside the fish, the big bass where she's got her money stashed, and she starts building that school up and buying supplies. Like, everybody is brought up by the magic that's going on in this film.
Yeah, and then she pulls Jasper aside and says, "You don't actually realize what you've done, do you?"
Yeah,
I think that's...
And he did, because he was doing it for purely like hedonistic purposes, not an altruistic bone in his body at the beginning.
Yeah, I think that's the point where he starts to realize like what he's done and like what he can be. Because like there's no part of me that believes that, like how we start with Jasper, he would be willing to encourage KLAUS to make more toys. Yes, part of it is that he wants to go back to like his luxurious life and all that, but he also kind of likes hanging out with the old guy. Yeah,
and the story that he's like, "Come on, you'll just make more toys." Whatever. He goes, "I don't do that anymore." And when he explains why, that's... But then, Jasper also understands this is the cure for that. This is the tonic for that heartache, that hurt. And the beautiful example of that is, as the movie moves on and people get older, and KLAUS is still doing it, but he is becoming an old man, and you see the tree that he made. Like it's sort of like the stump of a tree where he's carved. You see it in the original flashback where he's talking about his wife, and he's carved all these little windows, and at the top is him and his wife, and in the windows were supposed to be children. It was like we wanted to have a lot of children, but it never got filled for whatever reason. And at the end, when you see this and you see the workshop and you see the Sami people working for him or working with him rather, and Jasper still helping him do the deliveries and all that, and you see that tree again, and that it's filled with little dolls of children, all the children who he's been able to help.
And Jasper and Alva are there with like in that like the thing that you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, Jasper and Alba get together and have some children of their own, and he stays on and is the postman there. Santa is, in the origin stories of Santa, it's always like Tim Allen gets fat, or whatever the hell happens in that movie, or or all of a sudden it's Kurt Russell just is Santa Claus, and it just happens, whatever. Or even Fred Claus is another one I watched recently where he was just a good kid who gave his presents away and was sainted. And if you're a saint, you also become immortal and then live. You know what I mean? It's all that stuff, but it never, the reason for him, the generosity and for the of spirit and the love of doing what he does, and that it's to the benefit of children, is never addressed. It's always just because. But in this, it's because he had a hole in his heart, and he filled it with charity and with kindness, as opposed to trying to, take inwards. He put outwards to fill inwards. There is no better thing to take away from the Christmas period, that giving is the juice, man. Like that's where the love is. I barely even think about getting presents. I love giving them because that makes me feel better than getting them. And I'm not a saint or anything. I'm certainly not immortal. That's for damn skippy. But yeah, I get so much more from that, and that happens as you get older too. When you're a kid, you like getting presents and stuff, but now when you give someone that perfect gift or something you thought really hard about, and they're like, "Wow, I wasn't expecting this." That's where the joy of this movie lives for me, in its charity and in its humanity. This movie could not be made by artificial intelligence.
It would not,
motherfuckers.
Yeah.
There's no way. Yeah,
you can see it in Klaus's eyes, and like the first gift they give to like the boy, where like he like opens up the fucking gate, and like both of them go in, and like he's holding Jasper with his hand to keep him quiet, and you see him see the kid open the present and like kind of play with the string, and he pulls it and the frog jumps, and you see him laugh with joy, and it cuts to Klaus, and he's just wide-eyed, and he's found a release of pain, and he's found a way to make himself feel better, but also do better for other people.
Yeah,
it's
that the particular of that frog is really great too, because it begins the sort of the mending of the relationships between the two warring families, because it hops over the fence into someone else's yard. But yeah, I mean, the answer is it's only ever about love, and that's such a great, because you forget about that when it comes to Santa. You just think like he's kind of this arbitrary thing at Christmas time, but the idea around it is about generosity. And I also love that when you see the gifts being delivered, the explanation for Santa's supernatural abilities is that he's got this skinny fucking dude with him who can jump down chimneys, and like it's a fantastic, like, I mean, it's not a still because it's a moving image, but it's just a shot of the street, and they're going to each house, but it jump cuts.
Yeah.
And he's like falling down this, getting chased by chickens, and then the chickens are here, and then he's falling, comes out of that chimney. Just he's going to all this effort, and he's got to hit that certain mark, like 5,000 letters or whatever it is, and eventually that just becomes a nothing.
Yeah.
It just becomes like the job is the job, and it's about like servicing Klaus as opposed to servicing himself. So he, again, learns the exact same lesson that Klaus learns, but in a different way.
Like, I agree that like all of it comes from love. Like they teach like the gift then teaches them how to just like love. Like the other kid goes to the fucking attic and cleans up his dad's old clarinet, and he
Yeah.
puts him outside, and is like there's this fucking band that just keeps banging the dishes that they play, and he comes out just jamming on with the clarinet, and he's happy. And it's like those you don't get those kind of things in like Christmas movies, right?
No, it's never so broad. Like, it's always really specific. Like, this is the experience of a single person, or this is the experience of these characters who we're following. But this is a community. And it's also it stands in. It's a proxy for the world, the way that we all feel when we give to each other and do kindnesses. And it should be a year-round thing. It just happens that Christmas is when we all do it kind of arbitrarily. Just before we sort of finish up, we're going to have to talk about the ending. This is one of the best and most beautiful endings of any film. I cry every time, and I'm man enough to admit it, or person enough to admit it, whatever. But at the beginning of the film, when Jasper comes to Klaus and sort of explains the situation and how he wants his help, to make these toys and to give them to kill, or to use these toys to give them to children, whatever. Klaus is like, fuck no, I'm busy chopping wood and building these birdhouses. And then he sees the swirl of the leaves and the snow and the kind of magical kind of portal thing behind him. And Klaus looks at it and he recognizes that as his wife that he lost. And Jasper turns around and all of a sudden it disappears. And he's like, okay, well, that's clearly a sign. The final act of this film finishes, and then you've got your epilogue where they have grown older. It's a fantastic joke about he turns up to Klaus's door with a mustache and he's like, what's that? What's that on your lip? But they do get older and time passes on and Klaus becomes
older,
feeble, and is unable to. It's not as easy. And there's a scene where he's outside chopping wood and the wind blows and you hear some sound, some diegetic sound and some score, and he just looks up and says, I'm coming, love, and he walks off into the forest. And then Jasper talks about how he looked everywhere for him, and he couldn't find him. He looks in the forest, he asks people, and then there's the beautiful moment where he tucks his kids in bed. It's Christmas night. He says goodnight to them, and he says goodnight to his wife, and then he goes and sits in his living room. And he's like, I don't know how it happens. I've given up trying to explain it. I just know that, oh man, I'm getting teared up as well. I just know that once a year I get to see my friend again. And the smile when he hears the sleigh bells, like, just fucking forget about it. Like, to turn that story into something that emotionally powerful, it's just the best. I can't beat it.
Yeah. And so that's the first time I've cried.
It's, I mean, I just can't, because friendships are funny in that way, in that you don't really recognize them for what they are while you're in them. Or most people don't. People have mates, and you got your pals and your buddies, but you wouldn't always go to bat to them. You wouldn't always go for bat for them. You wouldn't always sacrifice for them. But when push comes to shove, you know who the real ones are. And the idea for me, in a personal way, I had a friend named Terry, who was a mentor of mine. He's a prosthetic artist in the movies. And this is a guy I knew because he lived in my town, and we had a lot of personal time together. He passed away very suddenly, and he got sick and very quickly, and then passed away suddenly. And I didn't hear about it until after he'd passed on. The idea of being able to see him again for once a year would be amazing, because I miss him terribly, and I didn't know how much I was going to miss him until after I couldn't see him anymore. So I guess the point of the whole thing is just, tell the people you love, that you love them, and don't wait, because you never know the minute. You just got to be kind and show love and compassion and kindness wherever you can, whether it's Christmas or not, and cherish your friendships, the true ones. Cherish the friendships that fill your cup, that nourish your soul. Otherwise, what the fuck are we doing here? That's KLAUS. That's KLAUS, everyone. It's so good. Watch it right now.
Yeah,
Don't wait.
It's a Christmas movie that works without Christmas.
You're absolutely right, and there's very few of those. So let's see if we've got any KLAUS-based questions.
All right, let's do Q&A.
Here we are. KLAUS questions. There's 5. These questions 5. Let's start with one.
Question 1: what cliches do you love in a Christmas movie, and what can you go without?
That's a really fucking good question. Whoever wrote that in. I love the milk and cookies idea, and the carrot for the reindeer. My friend Wes, who has a young daughter, said something the other day. It was really funny. Like, he had a bite of the cookie and a drink of the milk or whatever, but he didn't want the carrot part of it, but he had to make it look like it was eaten. So he broke it off and then used a grater to kind of make it look like it had been chewed by, I think, reindeer. And then my sister-in-law was there and she was like, why did you do that? He goes, because I still need to use the carrot tomorrow for her lunches. I was like, that's fucking brilliant. He didn't want to ruin an entire carrot because it was the kid's lunch. Fantastic. But yeah, I love the milk and cookies. Love all that stuff. You do. Let me think about the one I don't mind, and you tell me the one you do like.
I have a feeling I'll say mine, and you'll agree.
Okay.
So I like the saturation of it, like the saturation of like all the colors, like from the technical perspective, but also like just how jolly everyone is, because most times it's not that in real life. So it's
no.
And the one thing that I can go without is happy endings.
Yeah, sure. Because not everybody's happy on Christmas.
Exactly, and like, I think that's why I liked it more the second time, because I wasn't happy on Christmas, and it didn't matter, but like by the end of it, he loses his friends. He loses a friend too, and
yeah,
like he gets to see him once every year, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's not a happy ending. It's an okay ending. You feel okay about it, but the alternative would be better, is if he didn't pass away and lived forever.
Although do you know what the original ending was?
Fuck what?
Oh, dude, it was heartbreaking. It was Jesper. Well, in this ending, they don't have kids, so Jesper, Alva, and KLAUS, they disappear. And they're the ones. So Jesper and Alva and KLAUS, they're making the gifts, and then Jesper and KLAUS go and like distribute the presents every Christmas. But like they disappear from the town. Yeah,
that's a bit much. Not all of them. That's a bit much. Like it doesn't give you that beautiful.
They go full north, and there was a scene animated where, or like partially animated, where like they're going on the sledge, and like beneath them there's ice, but beneath the ice is like a blue whale kind of there, and it's glowing in like the northern lights and all that.
Wow.
But yeah,
the Aurora Borealis.
I loved this ending a lot, and I think this ending works because it's not all happy. And another, like, the only good happy ending example I can give for like a Christmas project is the Hawkeye ending. Because because like by the until episode 6 dropped, we kind of had a feeling of he's probably not going to make it.
Yeah, it did feel a bit that way, but it's more like at the end she's like, "What about Lady Hawk? What about this name?" He's like, "I've got an idea." Cut to black, like handing the reins over.
Like the arrow goes through the screen, and
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, right on. I think my other cliche is a little bit more of a not so tied to this one. The chimney thing.
Yeah.
Like the only realistic version of that story is the one that Phoebe Cates tells in Gremlins about her dad going down the chimney and breaking his fucking neck, all right? He had a friend who had a young son, and we asked him once, we were in a place, I don't know where we were, I can't remember the specifics, but we were in a place that didn't have a chimney. And we were like, what's he going to do, mate? What's he going to do? Thinking, this is going to stump the kid. And he's like, he just comes through the front door. I'm like, hang on a minute. What if it's locked? He's like, he's Santa. Like, and that was it. It was just the fucking confidence of this kid. I was like, yeah, right on. I can feel that. So yeah, don't worry about the chimney.
The only good chimney scene with the Santa Claus is in Violent Night, where he kills John Leguizamo.
By making him go up the chimney magically. That's true. That's very, very true. Cool. What's question number 2?
Mary fuck kill Santa, Jesus, Mariah Carey.
I'm not answering that. No. Jesus is already dead, so the work's done there. Who was the third one?
Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Jesus is already dead, so job done. But then again, he will come back, so don't worry about it. Marry Mariah Carey because she's got plenty of money, and fuck Santa if it's David Harbour.
That's
sold.
I'll fuck Santa if it Santa can fuck me. Can we go on? Yeah.
We can if you like.
Christmas. Oh, wow. Jesus Christ.
Hey, no, you know what? I was not going to answer that question. I'm like, no, we need to understand that we started this. This is what the show is, and people are just reacting to the tone of the show. So I'm not going to deny them. I'm not going to deny them answers to their sexy questions just because I'm worried about how they might feel. Let's do it.
J.K. Simmons is Santa.
J.K. Simmons is Santa, absolutely. Animated and all, whatever.
Whatever.
What's question 3? You seemed worried about that one too.
What Christmas classic you two have not watched yet?
What Christmas classic have I not watched yet? Like, ever?
Well,
Okay,
I haven't watched Die Hard, so...
Okay, well, that's not a fucking Christmas movie or whatever you said. Fucking guff, mate. Talking fucking nonsense over there, mate.
Well, I remember watching the Home Alone movies when I was a kid, but I have never watched them willingly as not a...
Did someone hold a gun to your head? What happened? Let me have a look here. Sorry, I'm just going through my...
I want to piss you off even more.
Okay.
Batman Returns.
You haven't seen it?
No.
It's very good.
Wasn't that the one you did the watch along for?
No. I did the watch along for Scrooged with Bill Murray.
What was the other one?
The other watch along was Ghostbusters.
Right. Okay. Yes,
I like those movies.
I watched.
That's okay. That's totally fine. Okay, I think probably the one that I haven't seen is A Christmas Story. Or A Christmas Carol. No, A Christmas Story. Which is like a really famous one. They did a sequel to it not too long ago either. Also Black Christmas, which is like a horror movie version of one. Trading Places, I haven't seen either. That takes place at Christmas. Tokyo Godfathers takes place at Christmas. Haven't seen that. The Holiday Affair, haven't seen that. So yeah, there's a bunch. I watch a few. Krampus, haven't seen that. I have some that I go back to pretty religiously, but I try and add new ones every year. Like this year I watched Genie, Christmas in Connecticut from 1945, Candy Cane Lane, Holiday Inn, which is fucking racist as a 1940s newspaper. So much so that they cut out one of the scenes because it had the main characters in blackface. It was fucked up. Yeah, intense. Yeah, so there's heaps there.
Right. I will say that both of us have watched a Christmas classic called Holiday Season.
Yes.
Is it Happiest Season, Holiday Season? I fuck up every time.
I think it's Happiest Season.
Happiest Season.
You're talking about the one with
that one.
Kristen Stewart and who's the other actress in it? Something Mackenzie Crook. Mackenzie Grace.
Mackenzie Grace.
Mac and cheese and biscuits.
It is. It's Happiest Season.
It is.
And
who's the actress?
Mackenzie Davis.
Mackenzie Davis. She's one of those Terminator pictures. I like her a lot. Yeah, I really like that movie. I watched it last year, but it wasn't on anything streaming this year, which is a shame.
If you get a chance, watch that because that's really good.
It doesn't need to be a Christmas movie either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, by all points, it isn't one if the supernatural thing's a must for you. Nothing supernatural about that film. Here we go. Number 4.
Santa is captured in a sexy action film. Who leads as Mrs. KLAUS on an adventure to save him?
Okay, so Santa is kidnapped. They have to go and save him, and Mrs. Claus is is got to go on the adventure to get him. Mila Jovovich,
Who?
because she's a badass as well. Mila Jovovich from Fifth Element, the Resident Evil pictures.
Okay, got you now.
She'd be pretty good. Yeah, she's sort of like, she'd be in her probably late 40s, early 50s, I think now. If you were thinking about like an older, kind of more stately, maybe a Gina Davis might be a good, or a Viola Davis. We get all the Davises in there. She might be really good too. If you're thinking younger, Hunter Schafer, but then again, I put her in everything. And the Santa Claus for that could be the guy who plays the pansexual dad in Euphoria.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I don't know the actor's name, but that'd be a nice little correlation. That'd be just one for me, but so that's my pick.
You brought in Hunter Schafer. Where the fuck else should I go now?
Yeah, I know. There's not a lot of room in the left now.
Hunter Schafer. I'm not going
there
anywhere
you go.
else.
It's a very specific picture, but fuck it, we love it. And the final question is,
what three wise persons from comics or movies would you love to have advice from?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Wise people from comics or movies. Alfred Pennyworth, Charles Xavier, and T'Chaka. The Black Panther before T'Challa.
Yeah.
He's like T'Chaka, his dad.
Mine is Hank McCoy.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's a better one than mine, actually. Doing science.
No, but also just humanity stuff.
Just also everyday stuff. Yeah, I get that.
Superman.
Yeah.
Because why the fuck not?
Mm-hmm. I was thinking older than me, you know what I mean? Like I'm older than Superman now, like by all reports he's in his 30s, so I was thinking like who's older than me? Yeah.
Well,
it was kind of hitting all the points, you know what I mean? It was like, what, sorry?
No, you go ahead.
It was like hitting all the points, like, if I needed advice that was like, about how to deal with my own insecurities and how I want to live my life, that'd be Alfred. If it was how to deal with other people, I'd be talking to Charles because he can read minds and things like that. And if it was spiritual advice, it would be T'Chaka. That's where you would get that from because he's in the afterlife already. So sorry, you were saying? Hank McCoy. That's a great choice.
Yeah, and Superman. Because both of them are older than me.
Yeah, by a good margin. But they won't always be. Eventually, you'll clear that because ideas don't age.
We'll see about that.
Yeah.
I have a tie.
Got to call in to be immortal.
I have a tie for like number 3.
Okay.
So Barbie.
Sure.
Like.
That's for the spiritual again, yeah.
And Dick Grayson, because everyone loves a dick.
Everybody loves a bit of dick. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the close of another episode.
Jolly Merry Horny Christmas.
Jolly Horny Christmas. Thank you so much for coming along and indulging us in our post-Christmas KLAUS Love Fest that we just had. I do hope you put it in the catalogue for next year and check it out and let us know if you dig it or if you don't or whatever. Just get in touch. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for being our amazing audience. Addie.
I love you so much.
I love you too, buddy. This is good fun. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you as well, being my podcasting pal. And we'll see you next time for whatever the fuck it is. We don't know yet. We'll figure it out and whatever's great. So yeah, look after each other. Much love and remember,
stay amazing. Stay safe. Mind.